Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome my wonderful Doctor Who family. On today's show, we're going to talk about why I don't feel the Doctor Who companion is a vital component. And we're also going to be talking about my feelings as a kid watching Doctor Who. And what did I want to be? Did I want to be the companion or the Doctor? And I'll tell you my motivations behind this. And in the second part and final part of the show, we'll talk about my motivations in my storytelling in my unpublished Doctor Who fiction. All my Doctor Who fiction is unpublished and done for my own entertainment. And sometimes after I've rewatched Doctor Who, I get very excited and I'll post something on my Twitter feed or do a video. Or the other day you saw me kind of trying to act, using the terms acting loosely, some of the dialogue of my Doctor Who fiction. Very exciting, by the way. In 2015, I'm getting confused. In 2023, I'll be starting to write my Doctor Who fiction for the 15th Doctor, who is Ncuti Gatwa and Ruby Sunday's companion. So I'll be talking about that on this channel as well. But first of all, let's talk about the Doctor Who companion and why I don't feel it's such a vital component as people who work on the show and who have worked on the revival believe. Now, I love watching all these special features on my Doctor Who physical media. Now, I was watching The Ultimate Companion. It's a documentary with Peter Davison. He goes off like asking different people what are the components of the Ultimate Companion. So you basically get a lot of this talk where the companion is the most important thing, that the companion is more important than the Doctor. This kind of talk really triggers me. And they were talking to the lady who played Tegan, and, you know, Peter Davison was saying to her, you were more of an assistant than a companion. And I think this is bullshit, because we've got this modern day, like, companion, and we're told that the modern day companion is better than the former assistants in classic Who, and that assistant is a derogatory term. Now, let's be clear here. Tegan was one of the few classic Who companions who wasn't an assistant. She was very robust. She put the Doctor in his place. She was amazing. She was more than a companion, than an assistant. Tegan was sensational, and I loved her. When you look at the modern day revival companion, you look at Rose Tyler. By the way, I'm going to say a lot of things that sound derogatory, but they're not. I love these new age companions, and I love the actors who have played them. I'm just trying to make my point here. You've got Rose Tyler going, oh, Dr. Shag me. You've got Martha Jones pretty much going, oh, Dr. Shag me. I mean, Russell T Davies understood by Donna Noble we wanted a bit more of an older, female companion who was an every woman, and Donna was an every woman, and she didn't want a relationship in that way with the Doctor, because Russell understood we were growing tired of that element. And so, when people say to me, Stephen Moffat said this a lot, like the companion's the star of the show, let me ask you a question. Could the show do without the Doctor? I'll answer that question for you. No. Could Doctor Who do without the companion? Of course, because ultimately, look, I love every companion that's been in Doctor Who. I do think it's a great component that works for the show. I don't want you to misunderstand me here, but I do get triggered by people who say the companion is the lead of the show and more important than the Doctor. Let me tell you something. As a kid, I didn't want to be the companion. I wanted to be the Doctor. Of course I do. Why would I want to be the companion? I want to be the immortal Time Lord who travels through space and time, and that is intelligent. I never wanted to be Dr. John Watson. I wanted to be Sherlock Holmes. Yes, there's a lot of ego behind that, but probably it's because I'm dyslexic. I was dyslexic as a kid. I had learning difficulties. I was very invisible when I was in a room. I was very, very shy. So, of course, I wanted to be the person who was clever, who wasn't dyslexic. You know what I mean? So I always wanted to be the Doctor. The reason I'm doing my fan fiction is because I want to run Doctor Who and star as the Doctor at the same time. Now, I'm 50 years old. This is never going to happen, but this is a dream, and dreams are good. They get us up in the morning, and it's one of the dreams that get me up. So please don't tell me, why do you want to do that when you know it's never going to happen? Because it's a dream. I fucking love Doctor Who. Yesterday, I was watching Death in Heaven. I nearly forgot the title, which is the season 8 finale. And I love the moment when Capaldi's doctor goes, I'm not a good man. I'm not a bad one either. And I just love it. And that actually sums me up as a person. The Doctor is a flawed individual. Now, this was the problem with Jodie's iteration of Doctor Who. She wasn't a flawed character because women, to progressives, can't be flawed. And there lies the problem with an industry that's run by progressives. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. So, because Stephen Moffat, in these interviews that I was watching, everyone wanted to be the companion and not the Doctor because the companion is reachable and the Doctor is like an alien. No. I always wanted to be Superman as a kid, and I've always wanted to be the Doctor. I've never, ever wanted to be Jimmy Olsen or the companion. Never. I don't want to be the Doctor's best pal, and I don't want to be Superman's best pal. I want to be Superman. I want to be the Doctor. Again, there's a level of, egotist to that. And I certainly accept that. But to me, I watch Doctor Who for the Doctor, not for the companion. Why do I want to watch Doctor Who for an ordinary person like me? I don't, people kind of say, oh, it's relatable because they're like you. But I'm watching Doctor Who because this is a person who opens the door of the cupboard and takes you to fucking Narnia, literally, right? Now, obviously, he's not taking you, he or she or whoever's playing the Doctor isn't taking you to Narnia, but you understand the analogy. I watched Doctor Who because, especially as a kid, because it was educational, but it also was fantastical and it was full of escapism. And this is the premise that Doctor Who was actually created for. So why would I want to relate to someone like me? I can sit on the pavement and watch people passing me by in the real world and see people like me. The truth is, there's no one like me in this fucking world, and there's no one like you. We are all unique. But the last thing I want to do when I'm watching Doctor Who is relate to the companion. Now, I'm not saying I don't want a companion on Doctor Who. And later on in the second part of the show, I'll explain to you why I made certain kind of storytelling decisions in my unpublished Doctor Who fiction. So for me, it's all about the Doctor. It's the Doctor I look to, and I watch this show for the Doctor. I don't, and with the modern day companions, when we're told they're so much more stronger and independent than the original companions, I don't think that Sarah Jane Smith is less relatable than Rose Tyler or Amy Pond or, Clara Oswald. I don't. Because literally, Sarah Jane, and, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't really consume Sarah Jane's era. I started with Peter Davison, and I can't really remember Sarah Jane so much, but I can't remember Sarah Jane having a crush on the Doctor like Martha, or even, being in love with the Doctor. It wasn't about that. It was a friendship. And most of the old assistants were more friendships. I mean, I loved Adric because he was a young boy. So I did relate to him, but I didn't want to be Adric. I wanted to be Peter Davison's Doctor. I'm a doctor of everything, he says. Wow, why wouldn't I want to be that? Because when you're a young kid and you're dyslexic, I'm going to cry in a minute, excuse me, I'm getting emotional, but when you're a young kid like me, who's shy, dyslexic, your parents look at you like they wish they never had you because you're not perfect like your brother who's 11 months younger than you, right? Or perceived to be perfect. He certainly isn't perfect anymore, and I'm happy to be me. I don't want to wash my dirty linen in public here, but I'm certainly happy that I'm me and not him. But that's the thing. So when you're all of these things, I had to go special classes. I was at a special school for many, many years because of my learning difficulties. You want to be the hero. You want to be the main character, because I've never felt like anyone's main character in the real world. People don't give a shit what I have to say. So this is why I do this. So I can be the main character in my world. Even if I just get 5 or 6 views, I don't care. I know there's like 1 or 2 people who watch these videos who appreciate me, and I appreciate you. and your support, that you listen to me. I don't want you to agree with me. If you don't, it's good to have a constructive level of disagreement. So I've always wanted to be the Doctor. I don't think that the companion is as important as some of the people working in Doctor Who today. But here's the thing. It works for the younger generation, because this generation, Gen Z, are very obsessed with watching relatable stuff. They're not really about escapism because they haven't been raised on escapism. Our generation was raised on escapism. We were told escapism is good. I actually think escapism is a very, very healthy medium. I'll explain to you why. And this is why there's a level of higher depression and suicide and, mental illness in the world we live in today. Because the progressives who work in the industry telling them that it's better to live in the real world rather than living in a fantasy world. They tell their kids a lot earlier that Santa doesn't exist. They want to force their faces and their minds in the real world and shove their political, propaganda in their kids' heads. At school now, they're pushed a certain way politically as well, and they're not allowed to fantasize and believe in myths and legends. And we saw this with Jodie's Doctor as well. She's less of a myth. She's more like a real woman rather than a person you can look up to and go, wow, I want to be you when I grow up. There lies the problem. They were telling people, well, she's a woman, so that means every girl should want to be the Doctor. Well, I know a multiple amount of women and girls who wanted to be the Doctor when the Doctor was played by David Tennant or Christopher Eccleston. And back in my day when I was young, many girls liked Doctor Who. Now, they won't tell you that. The progressives who work in the entertainment industry will tell you Doctor Who was viewed predominantly by men. It was, because entertainment is viewed predominantly by men, but there were a lot of girls and women who, look up to the Doctor and used to look up to the Doctor. And by the way, I had no issue with Jodie Whittaker, a female, playing the Doctor, and that's not what I'm trying to say. Right, so that's my view on the companion. Now let's talk about my unpublished Doctor Who fan fiction and my motivations for the stories that I'm telling. So part of my motivation is what I've just been talking about, the companion, because the overimportance of the companion in New Who has become a bit of a problem. It has become a bit of a problem to me that it's always a young, attractive young woman who seems to have a crush on the Doctor. Amy Pond going as far as throwing herself as at the 11th Doctor sexually. And I thought this was absolutely, this is one of the things Stephen Moffat did that I never understood. I remember the episode. It was so random, and the Doctor was literally forced to go to Rory's stag do just to get himself out of this mess and teach her to appreciate her actual fiancé. And Amy Pond was never brought up about this. If this was a male character, the progressives writing the show would have done that. But anyway, I love Stephen Moffat. I don't have an issue with him generally. I think he's a genius and has a vast imagination. What he did with Danny Pink, played by Samuel Anderson, who did great as Danny Pink, Take a Bow, Son. I love that arc. It's about a soldier who regrets killing, because Stephen Moffat is a huge pacifist, as I am, and his pacifism can be seen a lot in his Doctor Who writing, and he does it really, really well. Like he did it with Capaldi's speech to the Zygons, which was amazing. You've seen it with Moffat a lot. But, and basically Danny Pink in the end gives up the chance to come back to the waking world and be with Clara, and gives that young boy whose death he's responsible for and has haunted him for as long as he can remember, a chance to go back to the waking world and live a life. It's a great story. And it's interesting to me that, why don't the female companions get such strong storytelling? I mean, Rose was this young woman who didn't like being, in the humdrum world of going to work, eating chips, hi mum, good night mum. And you can understand that. And there's a relatability about that. So, I just feel that the young female companions haven't been given a deep enough storyline. So one of my ideas in my fan fiction was to have a mother who's dying with a little child, a little girl who's dying. So the Doctor makes this impossible promise that if they travel with him through space and time, he will try and find the mother a cure. Now, I've already decided who I want to play the mother, and it's Kate Winslet. My reasons for Kate is because I've seen her in interviews talk about how she doesn't allow her children to go on social media because she finds it utterly damaging. And I really respect someone who's so protective of their children. And I think her playing, as a mother who's dying, playing this young, playing this young mother, or whatever age Kate is today. So the idea is that Kate Winslet's character has been looking for a surrogate parent for her daughter to look after her when she dies. And as she gets to know the doctor, she realizes the doctor will be the perfect parent for her little girl. Now, her little girl I would love to play, and maybe not as little as I'm making on. I think obviously maybe even like 15, 16, 17, even, maybe we could go a little bit older. She doesn't have to be a child. So I'm looking at Lily Aspel, who played young Diana in the Wonder Woman movies. I've always liked Lily. I think she's a very talented young woman. And yeah, I'd go with whatever age she is now, and I would do that. So ultimately, the Doctor makes an impossible promise he can never keep. He fails to keep it. The mother dies at the end of the season, and the young girl becomes very bitter, angry, and twisted towards the Doctor, and makes a pact with the Master, the Cybermen, and the Daleks, and every enemy the Doctor's ever had, and they lock him in the Genesis Ark, or whatever it's called. Remember, we saw it in Doomsday, and he's literally trapped in there, and it drives him mad, grows a beard, he just goes totally insane. And ultimately, this young woman does feel bad for what she's done, and she just let him out eventually, and they have to fix their relationship. So that's one story I've been working on, because as I said, I'm so bored of the young, attractive companion who really doesn't have much of a soul. And I would just always thought having a dying mother and a young child on the TARDIS with the Doctor would be a very interesting emotional story while they're travelling through space and time, having random police box travel. That's one of my stories. I've also explained to you my Clara story. I think I performed it the other day, where the Doctor regenerates in space after the TARDIS vanishes and lands on Ashild's and Clara's TARDIS. And, he realises that she's refusing to go back to her death, and basically they become enemies, and it's a very emotional story. I also was watching Death in Heaven. As I said, I was watching Death in Heaven, and obviously we had Missy, one of my favourite versions of the Master, and I was thinking, how compelling would it be if we had a child as the Master? I think like maybe again a 10, 15-year-old child as the Master, travels with the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't realise that it's the Master, and it's revealed that this child is actually the Master at the end of the season. I also want, within this season that I've been thinking about that premise, I've been thinking about a whole episode that does a flashback to the Master's and the Doctor's friendship on Gallifrey. Now, I know Doctor Who fans are not interested in origin stories, but what I would like to do is show how the breakdown in the relationship happened, because we know they were good friends growing up on Gallifrey, but what happened? And I think what I want to do is, even as a younger person, I want to show the Doctor really wanting to escape Gallifrey, not because he hates it there, but because he hates the fact that they want to be observers and don't interfere. The Doctor sees so many tragedies happening in the universe, and he can't help himself. He's got this big telescope, and he's looking at Earth, and he's fascinated by Earth. And him and the Master, when they're younger, agree to go to, travel the universe together. But then the Master decides to betray the Doctor and stay on Gallifrey, and that's the beginning of, the breakdown of that relationship. So within this season, where we reveal what this young boy is the Master, we also do a bit of a backstory of the breakdown of the relationship between the Master and the Doctor. But these are some of the ideas that I have for Doctor Who. And, it is my dream to run the show and star as the Doctor at the same time. Listen, I'm 50 years old. Now, I basically run a theatrical company here in Iron Apple, Cyprus. We do some plays. I played Scrooge this year and, you know, Ebenezer Scrooge, and I loved it. I love acting, I love writing, and I love directing, and I write and direct these things and starring them as well. So I love expressing myself. I absolutely adore Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who, and I love this character because you or me can be the Doctor. It doesn't matter if you're a black man, you can be the Doctor. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, you can be the Doctor. It doesn't matter if you're an Anglo-Greek Cypriot 50-year-old ugly dude with a big nose and a deep voice that no one really wants to watch or listen to. In your imagination, you can be the Doctor. The Doctor is an explorer. The Doctor wants to learn, and the Doctor wants to help while the Doctor is there. But the Doctor always wants to learn. The Doctor has so much knowledge. But as the Doctor always says, the moment I stop learning things is the moment I'll stop travelling. I fucking love this show. I love the job that these people have done, you know, since the revival. You know, basically talented fans making Doctor Who. Now, I don't know if I'm talented, but I love Doctor Who. And I would make coffees for the people making Doctor Who just to be involved. I am desperate to be involved in Doctor Who. I'm so madly in love with this universe, and I'm obsessed with it, and I love it all, and I love talking about Doctor Who with you people out there. So if you love Doctor Who, I love you, and hopefully you love me too. Of course we disagree about things, but as long as we disagree constructively and understand we're not enemies because we don't agree on the same things, you are part of the Movies TV Mad Doctor Who family. Just don't be mean. You can disagree, just don't be mean. That's what it's all about. This has been Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.